Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe. I'm Trevor Current, your digital marketing guy.
And I'm Joseph Christina, your professional photographer.
So grab a latte, pull up a chair, and join us as we chat about the art and business of photography.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. On last week's show, we talked about semantic security failure, a cool new shotgun mic from Rode, and we announced the winner of our WPPI 2012 giveaway. If you haven't listened to last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it on iTunes Store or simply head over to the website, digitalphotographycafe.com, and listen online. So hey Trev, we are back. We are on, what is this, show 40?
Yeah, episode
Nice.
40. Another little milestone there, right?
Yeah, it's nice. Episode
Very
40.
cool. Almost,
Amazing.
we're approaching a full year now. This is very cool.
Yeah, a full year of sitting here talking to ourselves. It's wonderful. That's good. Hopefully
That's right.
someone's listening out there and they're getting some good information. So, excellent. So, what are we talking about here today?
Well, this week we want to give a big shout out to our buddy Richie Schwartz over at petsphotography.com. He's a great, obviously, pet photographer. He's got some really amazing work on his website, and I don't know, pet photography, that does look like a lot of fun. I mean, you got to be an animal lover to really enjoy that. Otherwise, you'd probably go crazy. But you know, it's fun. I mean, I'm an animal lover. I got a big old dog, so I think it'd be kind of fun to do it. But
Yeah,
Richie's
I think so.
really into it. He's got some great work on his site, and we want to give him a big shout out because he is a donator to the website.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is very cool.
He does contribute, and it is very much so appreciated. I have here on the live stream one of his videos. It's like a documentary on what he does, how he does it. What's interesting is he's been doing this for like 30 plus years, and he was formerly a veterinarian, technician and a dog trainer and whatnot. So he obviously absolutely loves the animals, and that comes out in his work for sure. I know people call him the dog whisperer, and you can definitely, from this documentary, you can see how that could definitely come across that way. He seems to just absolutely love the animals.
Yeah, the video really is great. And you know what? We've talked about having, these videos, these behind the scenes videos on your website, behind the scenes of your photo shoots and stuff. This really is a great marketing tool too. So everybody, I definitely suggest heading over to Richie's website at petsphotography.com. Check out the About page. He's got a great video on there. It gives an overview of, him and his business and some great clips of his shoots. Like, it looks like he's in a pet store.
Right.
And he's got people lined up, man.
No.
He's got people lined up waiting to have their pets' pictures taken, man. This is great,
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's right. Having an About Me type of, or a documentary of who you are, what you do, it's really good because many times people, they will choose you based on what you look like, what you sound like. It's kind of who you're, who they perceive you to be. So
it helps to give them a sense of your personality. It's so hard to convey your personality through the written word. I mean, you can joke, you can put, whatever in your copy. But when people actually get to see you through photographs or video, and they get to hear your voice, and they get a sense, it gives them a lot more of a sense of your personality. And you know what? When people hire a photographer, that's what they're doing. They're hiring you as a person, not just for your photographs, but for your personality, especially an event photographer, right? A wedding photographer. The couple is spending the entire day with you. So, it would really make sense to, to show some of your personality in your site.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when it comes to really personal things like a wedding. If you're doing, let's say, you're a boudoir photographer, and you're photographing people in a very vulnerable position. And for them to look at you, hear you, and kind of get a feel of who you are definitely will either make it or break it for you. So coming up with something that's really good, something that's stellar, that really says who you are and does it well, is what a great advertising tool. This one is fantastic for him. I mean, when you just look at this, you're immediately drawn to him, and you know that he's going to be shooting the pets and he's going to do a good job at it, and he just loves doing it. So very cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyways,
so give him a check out his website, petsphotography.com, and look him up on Twitter. It's at Pets Photography, and it's PETS.
That's
Pets
right.
Photography.
That's right. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about social media and digital marketing, almost like a tip of the week kind of thing when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's something that we should really do. I mean, we're the art and the business of photography. I mean, that's what we talk about. And some weeks we talk about all business. Some weeks we talk about all art. Sometimes we do a nice combination. And I think it really would be a good idea to start mixing it up a little bit more and have maybe like these little tidbits, if not like a full-blown segment, even like little tidbits about each different area. Right. Each week. That way everybody kind of gets a little bit of everything in the mix. So so this week we're going to talk about blogging and preparing an editorial calendar.
Right.
We all know, I mean, I think at this point, if you've been listening to us for a little while, I mean, if you've been in social media for a little while and you've had a website, you kind of get the idea that blogging is important to your marketing. And it's important to getting found in search engines, and especially for local search. We've been talking about Google Places and such. So having great information in your blog that references a location will also help you get found by your local market. So, we kind of all know that. We know that blogging is important, but, sometimes blogging is just hard. It takes time. It's a commitment. When you're trying to do everything else, especially if you're a small shop, when you're trying to do your social media and you're trying to actually do your photography, you're trying to do your retouching, you're trying to do all this stuff. Do you have time to sit down and write a wordy blog post?
Yeah,
maybe not.
The idea of blogging and an editorial calendar is critical, because if any of the folks out there are like me, it's almost sometimes it's a little bit ADD, where I'm scattered everywhere because there's so many different things going on, and if I don't have stuff calendar, it just doesn't happen. So coming up with an editorial calendar and actually writing in there, let's say, okay, I'm going to be speaking about a venue that I just visited or I just shot at, or I'm going to be speaking about some a photo session that I just did or whatever, and you make an entire list, maybe in chronological order, of how you're going to write about it, discuss it, make a blog entry about, and make an entire list of them. And then as you go and you create one, let's say it's about a venue, one of the best things that you can do is write a blog entry about a venue that you just shot, because that venue, whenever they research their name, they find you pop up talking positively about them, you will immediately come right up into their radar, and then they'll say, "Oh,
yeah, you'll become their best new friend."
Oh, yeah,
you're
absolutely.
Helping pimp them out on your blog. I mean, they love that.
Absolutely, love it. So, venues are great. Vendors, maybe it's your florist, that worked the party that you were just at, or maybe it's your DJ. Talk about them. Excuse me. Talk about them in your blog entries. And so the bottom line is, you want to make a nice chronological list of all these things that you want to talk about. Once you write about it, exit off and go on to the next thing. It's great for Google Juice. It's great for how you're perceived in the market, where these different venues and different vendors are seeing you as, contributing to their business. So very likely they're going to refer you out because they know you're a team player.
Sure. And one word of caution that I would give is that, a lot of photographers have a tendency to write about photography, to write about, how to shoot, photography tips, that type of thing. Unless you are a photographer who runs workshops or seminars or something like that, where you're actually trying to sell to other photographers, I would caution you against writing about that too much about that type of information. I mean, an article every so often is fine, but you really, I mean, if other photographers aren't your customer, if you're looking for the brides and the grooms, if you're looking for the seniors for portraits, you don't want to write about shooting tips. You want to write about things that are relevant to them and relevant to them hiring you as their photographer. So yeah, really, in your brainstorming session, you really got to think about what your business objective is, who you're trying to reach, and what you're going to write about.
Yeah, absolutely. A photographer writing about photography tips is just not going to get there for a bride that's looking for a photographer. A bride comes to your site. What are they there for? You have to think about who you're building this thing for. They're going to be there for not reading a blessed thing that you have to say besides maybe you're about me and that's about it. They just want to see your work. The more work that you can put up there, the better. That means put all your best work. That doesn't mean put a ton, but you want to put all of your best work, and that is it, because that's what they're there for. So yeah, I agree 110%. Still many of us, and I do the same thing sometimes, but I'm marketing a little bit different, but writing about things that are important to the people that you're trying to capture, some of those people that you're trying to get a hold of, those people that you're trying to work for or with, is important, because that's how they'll find you.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely right. And I mean, again, in addition to showing your work, I mean, you write about these venues, you write about maybe wedding planning tips if you're a wedding photographer, just anything like that you can give that little bit, a piece of information to your customer. I mean, that really is perfect.
Right.
So, and remember that, your blog is not necessarily being written for existing customers. Your blog is being written to get new customers. So you need, like basically, once you shoot a wedding, I mean, odds are pretty good you may not work with that couple again unless you're doing portraits and you're doing baby portraits and such. So you want to keep things fresh and relevant to people who are hiring you for the first time.
Yeah, that's so absolutely critical. You're not blogging for existing customers, you're blogging for the new ones. If there's anything you take away, that is definitely something you want to take away today. You're blogging for new customers. What you write is going to get you the next job. Every time you write something new, Google spiders your site. It goes through everything, and it keys in to certain keywords that you're talking about, and that immediately goes straight into the Google engine. And if you're talking about stuff that pertains to who you are trying to market to, you're going to do yourself it's going to be hugely beneficial in comparison to blogging about something that you're just talking about just to talk about it. And that could be, like you're talking about, photo tips or anything like that. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if you develop an editorial calendar of when you're going to write and when you're going to post, and you really try and stick to it, if you find yourself with some extra time one weekend, and maybe you can write another article or two, you don't have to post them all at once. What you do is schedule them to post. Maybe your editorial calendar, maybe realistically all that you can do is get a post up once a week. Then that's what you do. You get a post up once a week. And if you have extra ones, you just schedule them for the following week. And that will really help you in those times too, when all of a sudden you're inundated with a lot of work and you just don't have time to write. You want to keep that flow going. And if you can get that structure set up, before you know it, you'll have hundreds of articles on your website, all being searched, indexed by the search engines, and all of which will help get you found.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of moving on a little bit. Last week I spoke about doing a job, a really big shoot for a very prominent New York person. Let's leave him unnamed. Anyways, we did a really big shoot. We did a multimedia shoot. So it was the photography, the videography or cinematography, the entire 9 yards. And what I kind of want to get into is audio. Last week we were talking about the Rode mic that came out, the shotgun mic, the new one, which was cool, and we were alluding to, and we discussed a little bit in H4n and other digital recording methods of pulling in, high-end audio. The other piece to that is, okay, so what the hell do you do with it once you get it all? You have, so for this shoot, we had 3 separate cameras, right? And we had the H4n recording a digital feed. And then we also had the, let's call him the audio guy, the technician, recording a CD for us also. So we have redundancy. We have a ton of backup like we were talking about in last week's show. Once you have that, to put it all together kind of it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do. So what I use and what many other professionals use is a program called Pluralize. Have you ever heard of that, Trev? Pluralize?
Yeah, Pluralize. Yep. Yeah, I haven't used it personally. I have heard about it though, because I really haven't had the need for syncing my audio like that. So.
Sure. It's probably, I would say, it's the best $150 you will spend when it comes to putting clips together and syncing the audio. Even now we have, for example, Final Cut Pro X that has the sync feature built into it, and you can go ahead and sync things together, and it does a pretty good job. But the bottom line is this piece of software, Pluralize, just does a amazing job. It's just one of those things that it just simply works. So the idea here is you bring in all of your clips. Okay, so you on your timeline, let's say you're using Final Cut, or you're using, for me, we're using Premiere in the studio, but whatever you're using, you bring in all of your clips and you just lay them all throughout on the timeline, everything on a separate track. So camera, let's say your main cam will go on video 1, your B-roll would go on video 2, maybe your tertiary cam, maybe it's a behind the scenes type of cam, that could be on video 3, and then maybe you'll have one big track of all of your digital audio. That could be on audio, let's say 4, and then you'd have, like, for example, we had a CD backup, we could put that on audio 5, and the bottom line is you put this all together, and then you tell the software to, all right, go and put it together. And what it'll do is it'll take your video, slice it all up, slice and dice it, right? And then go and stick it on the timeline. Stick it on the timeline where it belongs. So it's all ready to be edited. So you can go ahead and go from cam 1 to B-roll, back to main, to behind the scenes, and then and just constantly flip around through it. It works fantastic. Now, there's a caveat to this, right? The software works great, but I believe, and I'm not a technician here, I'm thinking that it's working on a waveform. The key here is your waveform needs to be nice and neat and tidy. Well, let's just say this week when we did this job, we did it with a crew that was doing this audio, and let's just say they didn't do that great a job. We had the H4n plugged directly into the deck through, I think it was XLR, 1/4 inch, which is what you should do. We were also recording audio straight through the ambient, through the mics in that are right on the H4n, and they were burning a CD. The problem is they were like over-modulating areas. It was just basically a mess. The problem is when you go and put it into a program like Pluralize or any other sync software, it takes this waveform and then tries to mush it all together based on that form. Since the waveform was kind of messy, it took me hours to try to fix this. So I guess the lesson learned here is, even if you have 3 or 4 different backups of audio, if your audio technician doesn't get it right, you're still going to end up having problems. And we all know, right? 80% of video is audio, right? If the audio is awful, no one's going to watch the video, right?
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. I mean, people will tolerate some shaky video, a little fuzzy, or what have you. But if the audio is just bad, if it's, if you can't understand what they're saying, they're overmodulated, they're blowing out, it's all staticky and such. I mean, yeah, that's just unacceptable. And this is the problem. I mean, when you as a videographer, as a photographer shooting an event, you're at the mercy of this hired audio technician, or maybe they're the in-house audio technician. Now, you would hope that they know what they're doing and that, whatever, but, things come up, there are problems, and short of you being your own audio technician and providing the service of, the audio work in addition to the video and the photography, you're really at their mercy. You really don't have much you can do about it. So, you're saying that they're recording the audio out to CD while it's, actually happening live. And in theory, that's great, right? But, I mean, you ran into a problem with that as well.
Yeah. So what you want to do is when you're recording, when you're doing, let's say, an event and you're recording your audio, what you want to do is match your audio format to each one of your sources. So let's say, you have 7Ds and 5Ds and whatever. If theirs are set up for, 44.1 kilobit, they all need to be at 44.1 kilobit. If they're at 48, they need to be all at 48. If they're recording at 16-bit, they should all record at 16-bit. If they're recording at 24-bit, they should all record at 24-bit. You want to keep continuity across all of that makes it much easier when you're trying to put these things together later on. But what we've noticed was the digital recording was recorded absolutely frame by frame flawlessly. But what happened with the CD recording, which was the backup that they gave us, it like a time stretch happened. So from the very beginning, let's say from minute 1 to, let's say, hour 3, there had to be at least a second or two of stretch going on. So what does that do? Now your software can no longer find what it's doing. It doesn't even know where to put stuff because there's this constant shifting. So if you have two waveforms in there, one is dead on and one is a mess, Pluralize or any other software that you use for sync just loses its mind. So, like I said, we spent hours upon hours upon hours to try to correct this and fix this, and it really wasn't our fault. There was nothing that we can do, but it's just one of those things that you have to think about. Like you said, if you're not your own, audio technician and you don't bring like a Mackie or something and you're doing your own, bringing in your own audio and you're plugging into their deck, even though that is the best way to collect high-end digital audio, the problem still is that you are at the mercy of that technician. If that technician is not set up right or he doesn't have it broken off at the right channels. I mean, perfect example, they had like 7 musicians and they had a singer. Well, technically you want to have, 8 channels. You want the singer on their own and then you want 7 channels for all of them so that you can actually dial in the balance of all of them so that they sound good. So when you're in testing before anyone arrives at the event, you can get everything dialed in from very soft songs to very loud songs and everything sounds good. But you need to have, for example, the singer on their own track. Well, the singer in this job just got muted and muffled behind all of the music and there was no way to pull her out because she wasn't separate. And she was, she was singing and being monitored with speakers, next to her, and she's screaming to them to turn up the monitor, I can't hear myself. Well, not only could she not hear herself, now in the audio we can't hear her either. So it's just one of those things, mess. and it just happens. But the bottom line is a software like Singular Software, and matter of fact, you can go to either pluralize.com or singularsoftware.com/pluralize. A program like that will save you hours upon hours upon hours of editing just by simply putting everything in sync, so then later on you can actually just do an edit and not have to worry about synchronizing all of these different feeds after the fact. So definitely something to go take a look at. And if you don't have it and you do a lot of video, you need to get it. It's far superior to the Final Cut Pro X's internal sync and many other sync packages that I've seen in the past. So I would give it 2 thumbs up for sure, pluralize.
Yeah, cool. Well, I mean, we know the audio is so important to your video, but so are the sharp images.
Oh, yeah.
And if you want to make the absolute sharpest images possible, then you need to take control over your DSLR's focusing system. This week's sponsor, Focus Pyramid, offers an autofocus lens calibration tool for your DSLR camera. Focus Pyramid makes lens calibration quick and easy and cost-effective at an amazing price. So head over to focuspyramid.com and pick up yours today, and be sure to enter promo code DPC to get an additional 10% off just for being a show listener.
Nice.
So what'd you think of that segue?
Yeah, that works great. Now, DPC, so 10% off the Focus Pyramid. Yeah, that is, I've been getting questions on that over on Twitter a lot, how does it work? Does it not work? One of the questions that I keep getting over and over is, I have a D90 or I have this or that. It doesn't have, calibration, custom focus calibration in the camera. Can I still use it? The bottom line is just a quick answer here, live on the air, recorded for posterity, is yes, you can still use it. You can go ahead and find out exactly where your camera's autofocus system is focusing. So either you're going to get either front focus or back focus based on the camera, body, and lens combination. And just the fact of knowing it gives you the ability to correct it when taking the picture in the field. Perfect example is, let's say if your camera is front focusing and you take a picture of eyes and now the tip of the nose is sharp but the eyes are slightly blurry. If you know that that's the case, well, instead of focusing on the eyes, maybe focus on the tip of an ear. Now the eyes will be perfectly in focus. Knowing that is still good. And yes, so indirectly, yes, you can use it to figure out where your focus is and then go ahead and correct for it. But some cameras do not allow you to custom micro adjust and save those adjustments. The ones that do, it's fantastic. It's stellar. You can go ahead and adjust all your lenses, and every time you stick a new lens on, boom, your focus is dead on every time. So it's definitely worth looking into. It's pretty cool. Anyway, so kind of in the news, right? We were kind of reading about something that is huge that's going on right now. Of course, everyone is talking about who is Facebook. Of course, Mark is making a crap load of money, I guess, coming up soon.
Yeah.
So Forbes talked about
Facebook
it, right?
Week for sure, man. It was, the big announcement of Facebook going public with their IPO, and
Right.
and CNBC just flipping around the channels the other night and came across 2 specials that they had put together, and one was like the rise of Facebook, I guess, all about its its formation and how it's become the 800-pound gorilla in the room. And then there was also another one all about Mark Zuckerberg, just as a person, kind of his life and, creating Facebook, and again, kind of a continuation of that story. So, yeah, I guess they timed it appropriately this week.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. It's not even, you can't even consider it a business. It's like a social entity. It's a part of everyone's life these days. I mean,
it's a part of culture. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing. You have people that are on it for maybe a few minutes a day, and then you have other people that are on it for hours a day. You have people that are, teens all the way to folks that are in their 80s on Facebook. It's such, just like you said, it's such an amazing piece of culture now going forward. I found was interesting in the article was they were talking about 12% of the revenues, I guess, from 2011 came from Zynga. Can you?
I know. The
The
makers of Farmville and stuff, right? The game makers.
God.
I know. That's amazing,
Is
right?
that huge? Do you think they're making some
Yeah.
money?
Zynga, they're doing quite well.
Wow.
What'd they say? I think in the article they said they went public last year, I
Right.
believe.
That's right.
And yeah, that company's worth a buttload of money now. I mean, they're
Yeah.
those founders aren't hurting for cash. That's
Oh
for
my
sure.
God. Yeah. So the offering, I think it's what are we up to? I think it's 5 billion. Is that what they're looking to raise? Something like
Yeah,
that.
they're looking at a 5 billion valuation, and right now it's still going into the process. It was introduced on Wednesday. It usually takes a couple months. It could even take as much as 6 months for it to actually all funnel through and get onto the stock exchange. Whether they're going and they're still deciding whether they're going to use Nasdaq or the New York Stock Exchange,
Right.
which one they're going to go with. But yeah, I mean, we could be looking at 6 months before any of us are able to buy any Facebook shares. But nonetheless, I mean, if all of this goes through, if they do their testing, they do their approvals and everything, yeah, they could be looking at a valuation of $5 billion. It's
Billion.
dollars.
Yeah. Matter of
As
fact,
I hold the finger to the cheek, right?
That's right. That's right. But that what they were talking about too, which is really good, is all of these internet companies that are they're just kind of like riding the coattails of Facebook. They all got a huge bump when this became public. So Zynga, of course, being one, but then you have like Groupon, and you have just a whole host of other ones that have gone public that are these type of social media plays, or just simply, not even just social media, just internet just by itself. These internet companies are doing really well just by this going public. Facebook, obviously 5 billion is not like a GM when they went public. And it's not, like Google when they went public. But 5 billion is nothing to sneeze at. That is a ton of money.
No,
that's
it.
So
Considering what Facebook is, that they don't really manufacture and sell a tangible product, that they are solely web-based, and all of their revenue is coming in through advertising and partner deals and things like that. That is huge. I
Right.
mean, I could live with that.
Yeah, they were reporting a full year's income of $1 billion, right? Is that right?
Yeah,
$1 billion.
$1 billion. Yep. Yeah, and another little stat in the thing, which a lot of you've probably already heard about, but 483 million daily active users.
All right.
That's just nuts. That is nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're pushing those kind of numbers with digitalphotographycafe.com, right?
Sure. Yeah, at least. Oh my God. Wow.
Oh man, it's
Yeah.
just sick.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
Good news for Facebook.
Yeah,
and,
that's good. Yeah,
probably
excellent
will
news.
be good news for us too later
think-
on, if those who want to invest.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's just good news in general for the internet, period, and that people can actually do internet, make solely internet plays. And I think what will end up happening is you'll start seeing some of this venture capital slowly start coming back into the picture. Whereas, during that whole entire, time when we had that .com bust, venture capital money just fizzled away. No one wanted to put any money into any type of web-based business because they feel like this is all
too
virtual.
risky.
There's nothing tangible, that there's
Yeah,
nothing there.
yeah.
And what's funny is, just like you said, here's Facebook. They are selling basically nothing. They're selling ones and zeros. It's just amazing the amount of millions and billions of dollars that can be made just solely on that type of play. So yeah, absolutely. I think venture capital money is going to start coming back in the market. A lot of these internet companies are going to start feeling that bump and that rise back up. And hopefully we don't end up with this .com craziness, because that's what people do. They see something like that, they're like, oh, let's start buying everything. And then they're sorry for it later,
Yeah, I think the whole investment thing will definitely be a lot more cautious moving forward. In the 90s there, when they were, these venture capitalists were just dropping cash, like crazy amounts of cash for all these .coms and all these startups and everything, because there was nothing else like it out there.
Right.
Now it's pretty much been there, done that. All these new sites are kind of variations of an existing theme. And they're just not investing in that. But they are investing in these little gems that are popping up. I mean, Groupon, very unique. Zynga was very unique. I mean, built their business on Facebook's platform, but their product offering is very unique. I mean, yes, Facebook may not be producing a tangible product like a car, like GM, but what they are producing is us. I mean, we're the product, you're the product, I'm the product. I mean, they are selling us to their advertisers and such. So it's in their best interest, obviously, to keep that community growing, to keep us happy I mean, we're not the customers. We're the users, but we're not the customer.
Right.
The customer is the advertisers. And we always need to keep that in perspective.
Yeah, but
as we're building our businesses around Facebook and their models, that we're not their customer, we're their user. Their customers are the advertisers. Right. They're not looking out for our best interests solely. They're looking out for their advertisers' best interests. So, I mean, it kind of goes to these conspiracy theories and, evil things and what have you. But, you just got to be realistic and put things in perspective. It's a business. They need to make money, and they're making money off us because we like their service they're providing.
Right, right. And, we not being, let's say we're not the advertisers, but we could be. So not only are they making money off us and off our information, the possibility that we become an advertiser on Facebook is pretty good also, because I know I've tried advertising on Facebook. I'm sure you have in the past, and many others that are quote unquote users of Facebook have, thrown the hat into the ring and said, you know what, let's go ahead and give it a shot and see how it plays out. For me, I've done some A/B stuff, maybe even ABC stuff with Facebook. For me and my market and what I do, it's, I would say, mediocre at best. It's lukewarm. I don't get a lot of bang for the buck over there. But I'm sure there's many others that get a lot of value from advertising with Facebook and having the reach that you get with them. And not just the reach, but being able to drill down to the exact customer that you're looking for, based on all that information.
Right. Well, that's where the value is. Yeah, that's where the value is in the customer information. Now, I've been going in and out of the Facebook advertising thing for a while. I mean, doing the digital marketing, it's in, my best interest to keep on top of it. My clients may want to go down that road and spend some money. I don't have anything against it. I mean, I think if you have a budget and you're willing to spend the money on it, it's definitely worth trying at least once. Putting together a good, solid campaign. You do your ABC testing on your ads, different ad copy, different images, different headlines. But yeah, the real power of that is you can drill down. I mean, here's something you guys want to try. This is pretty cool. I've done it. Go in to Facebook, scroll to the bottom of the screen after you log in, and click on the little advertising button, okay? Then you kind of have to go in there and start preparing like a fictitious campaign. If you have a Facebook page for your photography business, by default, it will come up as what your ad will be for, is to promote your Facebook page. That's fine, because you're not actually gonna purchase anything here. All right. So once you do that, you click the next and you move on to the next area where you're getting your demographic information. So, all right, if you're a wedding photographer, okay, let's say that you want to reach brides, okay, you want to reach the women who are engaged. So you go in there and you select, gender, you select female. It's for status, marital status, you select engaged, okay? Now, put in your zip code for one of the keywords, all right? And it will show you all of the women who are engaged, and you can even put in an age range too if you really want to narrow it down even more. It will show you all of the women who are engaged that live in that zip code.
Amazing.
All right? That's huge. That's huge. I mean, you don't have their names. You're not getting their email addresses or anything like that. But if you're willing to spend money, all right, for good placement, and you can come up with some great ad copy. I mean, you only have a few words of description. You only have a few words for a headline, so you are very limited in what you can do. that's why you need to test it. But if you can come up with the right thing and you can land on all of these women's pages,
Right.
They are all potential customers.
Yeah,
and that is really, really powerful.
And I absolutely agree. The idea of getting yourself out there, but on a local basis through Facebook is the way to do it. Too many people, they do these ads and they kind of take this big, wide, fat paintbrush and paint over.
They blow
everything.
it out to the world. You
Can't do that. You need to really drill down to your local market and hit the people that are going to come to you. So what I normally do is when I give this a shot, I always say, okay, I want X, like you're saying, brides or recently engaged or whatever, but I want them only from 50 miles in a circle around me. 50 miles in all directions. That is it. I don't need 100 miles. I don't need, because there's no way to be able to meet with these people at 100 miles out. Now, of course, we do events, as far as Puerto Rico and Jamaica, and we've done, things all over the world. But those are the people that are going to find you. You're not going to be, marketing to them.
Yeah.
The people that you're marketing to, they need to be your local market. And that goes back to what we're saying about your blog. When you're blogging and you're blogging about local venues and you're blogging about a local DJ and you're blogging about all of the local stuff that's going on around you, you immediately come up in the Google eyes, in their search engine, as being a person to go to when someone's looking for, let's say, a photographer, or someone's looking for a DJ, or whatever it is that you do, you immediately come up. So you need to continuously talk about your local much more than the global.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk about your local stuff on your Facebook page.
Absolutely.
These posts, these status updates are being indexed by search engines. And if in your profiles and in your posts and stuff like that, you're talking about local events and you can connect the dots between your posts and your website and your geographic location, that adds to the algorithm. That adds to the power of you being found. So, definitely use these social networks for what they're worth. Twitter as well. If you tweet about local events, local venues, put out there, brides looking for a great venue, check out such and such. That's all helpful information, and it's localized. Don't discount the value of local marketing. Local marketing is probably more powerful than any type of national advertising or promotion that you're going to do. So definitely focus on the local.
Absolutely. So you have your couple of things to take away today. Of course, one of the important things, of course, is that that calendar, your editorial calendar. Don't forget to put that together. That is huge. Put together an editorial calendar and get in there and start blogging as much as possible. I need to take that advice myself. I've been there's been so busy. I need to get back into it. So, also,
you crack that whip.
Got to crack the whip of myself. But then, of course, you also have Pluralize. Go and check them out over at singularsoftware.com. Very cool stuff. Anyone that's doing video, you need to go and check that out. So, I think we're going to, of course, run over like we've been doing lately. We start talking, we get on a tangent. But
I think it's time. So let's roll out of here. And as usual, thank our listeners for taking their time to join us. And if you have any questions or things that you want us to talk about on the show, we always love your input. And, it helps us brainstorm when we're brainstorming for the show. So just send a message to us through the contact form on our website, or you can even post a message in the blog post for this show at digitalphotographycafe.com. And you can connect with us at our Twitter account. It's at dphotocafe. And if you enjoy the show, we encourage you to subscribe for free in iTunes or via RSS and have them delivered to your computer automatically.
Absolutely. So most of you, I'm sure you know by now, that we're going to be taking the show on the road and broadcasting live from WPPI in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand. We're going to be, checking out all the latest products and services, along with chatting with some of the hottest photographers and industry leaders. Our sponsorship offerings have been a absolute huge success. Thank you guys so much. If you haven't gotten involved as of yet, and you're interested in getting your business, hundreds of thousands of people and photographers, there's to see you and to see your business, there's 6 spots still left. Stop by our sponsor page over at digitalphotographycafe.com/sponsor to get some more information.
Yeah, that's very cool. This is very exciting. I'm really looking forward to our trip to Vegas, and
it's going to be big.
We're gonna have a big audience here. I'm psyched.
Yeah.
So Joe, if people want to learn more about you, where can they go to find out?
Well, they can find me at alluremm.com. On Twitter, that's at Joseph Christina, and that's Christina without an H. Facebook, that's facebook.com/alluremm. And, of course, Google+. Go to gplusjc.com.
Excellent. And you can keep up with me on Twitter at Trevor Current and on Google Plus by going to gplustc.com. And, of course, check out our website at currentphotographer.com and facebook.com/currentphotographer.
All right, Trev, listen, great show as always. I'd like to thank the listeners for their continued support. If you enjoy the show, why not buy your caffeine-addicted hosts a cup of coffee? We added a tip jar over on our website, so please consider making a donation. If you're listening on the go, fear not. Everything that we covered in this week's show can easily be found in our show notes at our website, digitalphotographycafe.com. Once again, keep your questions and comments coming, and we'll talk to you next week.